this is like the fourth demonstration that I've done for art groups, and I think it's really nerve-wracking because I know a lot of you out there are some very accomplished artists, so you probably know as much, if not more, than I do about what I'm doing up here. So, with that said, if I'm talking about things that seem rather elementary, please don't take that as an insult. It's the only way I know how to do it. It's just basically talk as if nobody knows anything, and that way, if you pick up on a few things, great. And if you don't take it as, as an insult. It's just I may say some things that are just really basic, and for Pete's sakes, of course I know that, but maybe there's somebody out here who doesn't know anything. So I'll take it all the way down to that level. A little about myself. My name is Tillery. I'm an artist from up in the Placerville area, up in California. We're in California. I have a second home in Brookings, Oregon, and that's why I did the California part. We bought that a couple years ago, and so we're up here about maybe half a dozen times a year for anywhere from a few days to a week or two at a time. And I love it up here. We're going to retire up here in another 3 years. I work for the County of Sacramento. My wife works for the state of California, and that's one of the. We may not get the best wages in the world, but we got good retirement. So we plan on taking advantage of that. So hopefully within that 3 years or so, we'll be up here on a more permanent basis. Yes?
Can the back row hear him?
Yes.
Are you all
Yes.
okay, good.
Because I can project my voice even more if I need. Anyway, so I started back into art about 2001, after many decades of doing nothing. Basically, I was married with a child at 18 years old. Life happened to me, and art kind of took the back seat, and I got a real job where I had benefits and etc. And so now my kids are finally at the stage that they're all grown up. My oldest being 34 in March, and my youngest being 21 right now, to where I finally could get back into art about 6-7 years ago. And so I came back, and I have my goals set up, and I'm very serious about what I do. I'm in 4 galleries now. I just signed up for a 4th gallery, which I'm really excited about. I'm in our house gallery in El Dorado Hills. I'm in Gold Country Artist Gallery in Placerville, California. I'm in Words and Pictures up in Brookings up here. And then I just got accepted into Sandy by the Sea in Carmel, California, which is, for me, is a big deal. So they got some of my seascapes. I did a demonstration a few months back for Pelican Bay Art Association. I think they call it Manly Art Association now or something. But and I did a landscape, and I said when I come back to Crescent City, I'd do a seascape. So that's what I'm going to do. I only have, I guess I understand, about an hour. I did my best at home to do a painting in an hour. I'm a pretty fast painter, however, and you have to be doing plein air. An hour wasn't enough time. I tried. I did 2 of them, and one was an 11 by 14, took me about an hour and 40 minutes, and the 9 by 12 took me about an hour and 20. So I thought, I'm just not going to be able to do this and talk in an hour. So I'm going to just go as much as I can. I'll try and get the translucent wave in, a few of the key points for seascapes, and then I have the 2 that I did in my studio right here that I'll turn over at that time and show you how they turn out had I had maybe another 30 minutes or so. And like I said, I'm a plein air painter for the most part. I love plein air painting. I just competed in the San Luis.
I have a question. How many can stay beyond the hour? Practically everyone.
You didn't raise
Maybe
his
I'll
hand.
finish it then. We'll see.
You didn't raise your
The
hand.
pressure was off me a second ago. I didn't have to finish it, but we'll see how it's going in an hour. If I'm close, I'll go ahead and finish it. If not, we'll call it quits at that time. I'll show you the ones that are finished. I don't know. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my setup, because I had some questions when I was setting up. This is a shod box made by EZL. I believe is the company. I love it. It's probably one of the best investments I ever made for art stuff. The French easel's great. People swear by it. To me, it was a pain. I'm going to. There goes the wing nut. I've lost it, and here's something broken. By the time I get it set up, I'm so frustrated that I don't even want to paint. This thing I can have set up honestly within 2 minutes, and I'm ready to go. Okay, and I can have it taken down just about the same amount of time. Very easy to take down, very easy to put up. The whole thing was about a $240 investment, if I remember right, and that's with the tripod, the whole 9 yards, the box. I had the holder for the paints. So I'm not trying to sell this product just to tell you it's something I I really like, and if you do a lot of plein air painting, you may want to think about it. And I put it all in my backpack right over there, so I can backpack in for a mile or stand alongside the car, whatever works out the best.
What was it called?
It's a facade box by, I believe it's EZL is, or yeah, EZL is the company. So if you did a search on that, you'd find it. About a few of the paintings here. This painting up here on the left, I just recently did that down in the down in San Luis Obispo area when I was down on the Plein Air that I had. A little to the right, the other one. Since I look over the TV and I see it. Anyways, that was done down there. The one next to it here is a studio piece that I worked on from a small study that I did along Highway 88 up near Lake Tahoe. I do a lot of painting up in that area. That was near the end of the day, the sun coming down, and some nice long shadows in that. This piece here was actually from a photo, at least the reference for it. The larger pieces are not plein air pieces. I mean, I can't paint that fast. The largest I usually paint plein air is about a 12 by 16 inch, and all the way down to some 6 by 8 studies that I do. So everything in between. This piece here, paintings I did in San Luis Obispo, part of the competition down there also. Nice little area. San Luis Obispo is really nice. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like it has everything. It's got the vineyards, it's got the ocean, it's got pretty much on that competition you got to paint anywhere in the county. So I had some ocean paintings, I had some etc. It was one of the big sales, so I brought it. And then on the end there's just a little out of my head painting. It's kind of hard for me living in Placerville to be out on the ocean all the time painting, but I kind of have the ideal of what I want. And I really like to do paintings. Oh, real quick. This is from down in the. This is also from down in the Monterey, Carmel area. I just recently did this down there, and that was from there over period.
Miss that.
This is from the Point Lobos area. When I was down there dropping off some paintings, I went ahead and went out and painted for the day. Just a lot of Point Lobos is just a gorgeous state park. And this here, this is what we're gonna do. What I'm gonna do today. That little, and I just like crashing waves and rocks, and that's kind of what I like to paint. So I went ahead and sketched this out. This is takes me about 5 minutes, which I could have done it here. Doesn't take a whole lot of time, but since I am learning that well, I'll just do it at home real fast. My sketches are very, very minimal. I don't spend a lot of time on the sketches. A lot of times I'll indicate maybe in here and here that, okay, this is going to be my shadow area, just so I don't forget where my sun's coming from. Because, especially if you're not out there actually doing it in real life, you kind of have a tendency sometimes to forget where the heck was my light source. So I'm going to make these clouds with some shadowing going up at an angle, kind of like it is here, and the shadowing down here. And without further ado, I might as well get started on this. So on a seascape, at least for me, I have a pretty limited palette. I'm not going to use a whole lot of colors. I think on this one here, I'll probably use some ultramarine blue, a little bit of Viridian for the water. Okay. And I'm going to make probably a nice Viridian wave coming up in the foreground. And what do you start with first? The sea, the sky? Well, the sky's always going to reflect everything in the sea because everything's basically going to be reflecting that sky in certain spots and etc. So a lot of times I'll start with the sky. Sometimes I just start right into the water, but I think even though I started my mixture for the water, I'm going to go ahead and start with the sky. And for that, I think I'll use like a, what did I bring here?
What kind of medium do you use?
You know what, I don't really use much in the way of medium. If I need to, I'll have painter's medium that I just, just get on over the counter, get at any art store. I just use the premix. I don't like to try and figure out the combination, the right recipe and all that. I just use, and then a lot of times I just use turks for thinning down. Pretty much that. Not a whole lot more mediums. The less I have to carry with me, the better in the field. So I'm going to use a little manganese and white, I think, for the sky, just because I feel like doing that, for no other reason. Start kind of dark here. I'm just going to kind of work this in a real fast, loose fashion right now. I'll come back and refine it a bit as we go along. I'm not gonna stress too much on it right now as far as, the details. And I really try not to put a whole lot of details in anyway. I'm gonna lighten it up as I go down towards the horizon. Of course, as we all know, it's gonna have a tendency to get lighter as we recede down just due to the atmospheric conditions. And as you get higher in the, look at the sky, as you get higher, you just get darker and darker to a point. So I'll just kind of work this down in here a little bit, give me some sky. This ain't moving everywhere. Here, and I'm gonna get into here because I'll be covering up some of this as I move along. Now, I mixed up, I took the liberty of mixing up a little bit of purple. I usually use, if there's any combination you want to use, but a little bit of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson and just a touch of yellow ochre just to kind of gray it out a bit. And now I've mixed it with my blue that I already had going for the sky, so I get a little bit of that introduced into all the color too. And some white, and really lighten it up a bit. I don't want it to be too dark, but then again, if I start out with it too dark, I'll just lighten it up as I go along. I'm using kind of a small brush, but it's a small painting, so I probably could do a little faster with larger, but I'm more comfortable right now with this. And like I said, I want to kind of give this feel that's sweeping up, not just give a little bit of an action to it that's bringing us down into our wave in the crashing foam. And I know I'm gonna want some of that down here, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw some down here while I'm at it before I forget. And I'm gonna be wanting it down here. If you have any questions as I go along, please ask. I don't know if I'll be able to answer them.
How do you get accepted into a gallery?
How do you get accepted into the gallery? Well, that's a good question.
Do you apply? Do you?
A lot of times, I go and approach the gallery owners in person, but you can't always do that if they're long distance. So maybe you call. And the one, the most recent one in Carmel, which was a big deal for me, was basically I was down there doing some gallery hopping on my birthday weekend in January here, and I was in one of the galleries looking, and I love their work, and I said, I was with my wife, and I go, oh, you know what, this artist right here, Stephen, and I cannot say Stephen's last name, so Sagawa or something, that's not it, but I go, yeah, I know him. I said, I competed with him down in San Luis Obispo, and I said, in fact, this painting right here is what he used to be accepted, because I do that on the website. They kind of use the paintings that you had submitted and been judged in for that competition. It's a pretty stiff competition to get judged in for. And so I said, yeah, I know this guy. And I said, that's cool. So we're looking at it, and the gallery manager kind of overheard the conversation a little bit, and he came over and says, oh, so you know Stephen? And I said, oh yeah, we explained the story about competing together. Oh, great. He goes, did you win anything? And I said, well, no, I didn't win anything. I didn't really expect to. Just being accepted was good enough for me. And he goes, well, what about Stephen? Did he win anything? Hope I'm not making too long a story out of this, but anyways, I said, no, he didn't win anything either. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, then he proceeded to kind of tell me about some of the other artists in the gallery there, and one of them was Donald Neff. And Donald Neff, I think, is a great artist. And I competed with him before, and I said, oh, I know Donald. I said, I competed with him in Chico at a national competition a couple years back. Oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, well, in that one, I did win something. I took second place. And, and I basically explained to him that really, I don't know how that happened, but whatever. Sometimes you get lucky. You don't know what the judge is thinking. But, and that was judged by Gerald Brommer, who's, I'm sure a lot of you know, pretty well known in the art world. He judged that, and Donald Neff, honestly, in my opinion, had one of the best paintings of the whole competition. And so I told the gallery, and I said, I'm really surprised. that Donald didn't win something because I said I really thought he had a beautiful piece. I had him kind of picked as one of my winners. And so that was kind of it. You know, I was like, hey, it was nice meeting you. And I was heading out. I think I had actually 1 foot all the way out the door. And I turned around and I said, who would I talk to about maybe being represented in this gallery? Because I think I fit in real well. And, well, I'm the gallery manager. And his wife was the owner. So let me submit all this stuff to her. And anyway, make a long story short, you know, some correspondence went back and forth. And yeah, we're interested in seeing some of your work, bring down some pieces. And so I took down about 20 pieces. I'm going to use some, just a touch of yellow here with my white to kind of really throw a little bit of a nice warm edge on these clouds. Because, you know, titanium white is not really the warmest color without adding a little bit of warmth to it. So I want that warmth there. But anyways, so I took 20 paintings down. She requested like 9 paintings and bring down anything else that I might be interested in. So I did. I loaded up the car, went down 20 paintings, and she wound up keeping 9. So I was real happy. And that's the story of that one. And so, you know, I don't know. I think the main thing is to really have a nice portfolio if you're going to go in. You know, I was totally unprepared. I wasn't planning on going in and asking the gallery to do anything. And so normally I would have had a nice portfolio. I have a portfolio at home that I kind of take around if there's someplace I want to try and get in. And you know, like anything, rejection is part of the deal. So I've kind of learned that you don't get in there everywhere that you want to get into. Part of the deal. I don't really care as long as I get in someplace. Okay, so I've kind of been talking here the whole time and just want to, like I say, the clouds, I want to kind of sweep them up. I want them to get lighter as they get up there in this particular case. That case, but and so there, I've now got the sky, the clouds, and I think I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of, well, I'll do the, I always work basically top to bottom. You know, sometimes it depends on what I'm working on. Sometimes I'll throw a lot of the color around so I make sure, but I pretty much know I'm going to work some of these colors into my foam down here, and I don't think I'm going to lose sight of that. I don't need to really work on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get these backgrounds. And on this, I don't really like, I'm not real happy with those. I think they're a little too dark. So on this, I'll make them a little bit lighter, a little further, a little bit more distance to them. So I got my ultramarine blue. I've got basically the same mixture that I was using for the sky. And I'm going to break it down even some more with this yellow. A little more blue. And I just keep mixing it up till I think I got what I want. Even then, never really too sure till I put it down. That's the beauty of oil, though. As opposed to watercolor, I can make the adjustments as I go along. Those of you who are watercolor, see, that's way too dark. It's funny how they look, you know, on a canvas or on the easel. It's going to look so much palette. I'll get it right. It's going to look so much different a lot of times than when you actually put it down. And you get next to the other colors that are existing already, and you go, well, that's just not going to do it. But the beauty of oil, like I was saying, as opposed to watercolor, is I can scrape off. I'm not too panicked that I'm going to make the wrong choice like I get with watercolors. I do also some work with watercolors, but I really am more in love with the oils than I am watercolors. I did a bunch of not a bunch, but a few watercolors a couple of years back when I was laid up with pneumonia, so it was really nice because my wife does not care for oil color or oil paint smell in the house, so. But I could do watercolors. So I'm going to throw a little distant rock out there. Not real well seen. But. And I like to try and vary my, of course, brush strokes through here. Move this around, try to get a little creative to create a little bit of depth back there. I may add a little touch of color here or there just to, I can do right here, make it a little more interesting than just one solid color going through there. I'll tell you something else I want to do is bring in this cloud. And I like to work in it fun and give that, that feel of some mist or some fog or what have you. Soften these edges up, really pushing back there. That's the other thing. You soften these edges and you're really going to push, you know, you're going to give that aerial perspective that this thing is way back there as opposed to just being up close. And I do a lot of standing back because you get right on top of it and you can't tell. Looks good there, and then as soon as you step away, well, that's horrible. Darken this up.
How long did it take you to paint the vintage picture up on the wall?
Too dark? That would say probably about an hour and a half. Yeah. It takes me that size, outdoors, painting, usually, I would say about an hour and a half. And I don't do a whole lot, usually for the most part, once I get back to the studio. They're pretty much finished. Now, sometimes I'll sit there and look at them and go, you know, I don't know what I was thinking when I was out there. You know, I'll make some changes, but for the most part, my plein air pieces, they're done. When I leave, they're done. That may be just a statement on my patience too. That, you know, I'm done. I don't want to look at it anymore. I guess that's why I like plein air painting too, because it is a quick thing. I don't labor over a painting for months. And that's, you know, August always too dark there. So thank God for white. I took care of that. Yeah, I would say an 11 by 14, about an hour and a half. Anything smaller than that, maybe even even quicker. In about an hour, I can do a little 9 by 12 if I'm really, really under the gun, which outdoors you usually are. If that's for me, tell them I'm busy.
Sorry, turn it off. Nice little tune anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and lighten this up to the bottom here a little bit to give the illusion that there's a little bit of action happening down here with the wave and the water and mist coming up and etc. Okay, so that's basically got it to the point that, you know,
That's nice.
it's acceptable. Where my light's coming from once again, I lost sight of that. Which, by the way, is from the left coming in, should be. Okay, so we've worked our way down to the interesting part. Like I said, I've already got my color started here. When I was talking, I went ahead and started doing it at the very beginning, but I'm going to work like a nice ultramarine blue and viridian. And you know, something else about seascapes I do a lot is I'll use tape for the horizon line, because I just hate trying to get a straight line across here. I just struggle. It's like, oh no, that's not straight. I start measuring it. So I'll just take a little piece of that blue painter's tape. Doesn't hardly stick to anything, and just go ahead and throw it across real fast and give myself my line here to follow. And I don't necessarily do that when I'm outdoors because I don't have the tape, but you know, I sketch this out in my studio, and I might as well take advantage of the fact that I can do that real fast and keep the line somewhat straight.
When you do that, are you talking about going over the top of a dry paint? Or do you lay that right over the top of the?
No, I will. That's the first thing I'm going to do is establish my horizon line.
But what I'm saying is the tape, you say you just line.
Yeah, well, when I put down tape, it's a blank canvas.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and that's the very first line I'm going to make
Yeah,
my horizon line. And then from there, I'll do everything. So,
Oh, confusing.
obviously, I'm going to bring my cloud down a little there and stuff, but okay, so that's basically that. And leave a little white here and there where I'm going to have some little wave action going on.
What do you sketch with?
Just a little flat, I don't know what number it is. This is probably the jewel I use right here, like a number 2. Black is something that, you know, get it on quick, and like I said, I don't usually spend a whole lot of time. When I'm doing, say a landscape, because they are different to do landscapes and seascapes, you're gonna be kind of doing some different things. I'll block in like say this, you know, I've got big masses here. I know I've got this big mass here in the mountain, and I've got a big mass that's gonna be a big triangle, that's gonna be these trees, and I've got this other one where I'm gonna just, and so it's just real blocking. I just block in what I can real quick, and then from there go to refine it. You know, get the big shapes in and then start making smaller and smaller shapes out of it as I go along. In the end, hopefully it all ties in together. But, seascapes are a little different in that there's, I mean, I just don't, there's this big mass and there's a big mass here and, you know, the wave and it's just, it's not, I don't spend as much time, I guess, blocking in as maybe I do on some of the landscapes. Okay, so that's kind of where everything's going to go. So now, you know, one thing I didn't get was I usually carry a plastic bag for my garbage. And do you have any, or are you gonna try it? And I'll usually just attach that to this guy here, and so I'm self-contained. Throw a rock in there to weight it down so it doesn't fly across the landscape. Thank you. There's my garbage. Okay, and I know that I'm gonna have nice and dark color at the base of this wave too, down in through here, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in right now. And you know, I get real just sloppy down here because a lot of it's gonna be gone over with white, and you know, I don't wanna, actually I probably shouldn't put all that down, but we'll make up for it real long. Should get some stuff on here. Okay, here comes the fun part, to me, is the wave. And so I'm going to start with a nice ultramarine blue, a little bit of, I found a color that I really kind of like, that I'm not going to use on this, but is either the phthalo blue or phthalo green. Really makes some nice translucent waves. But so does Viridian. And so I'm going to use the Viridian with the ultramarine blue. I'm going to start nice and dark at the base here of this wave, and it's coming up. And I'm going to follow the contours of that water moving, which is going to be, that water is going to move up, and it's going to come over, it's going to flip over the top and create all this going on here. That's kind of my dark bottom. I may go back and refine it with a little bit darker. I really kind of like it even darker than that down the bottom. Okay, and now I'm going to add a little white to that mixture, and probably a little more green, because I really like the, like I said, I want to kind of emphasize the Viridian. So I'm going to take my next, basically my next part of the wave, next third of the wave or so, and mix this in like so. And then the top part is going to be a lot of Viridian, no blue, and a lot of white. And I'm going to start up here. Bring it down. Now, I can always darken this up, and I probably will as I move along. But that's got me started. Come back to the middle. And then basically it's just, I've got to work on bringing, I'm going to try to move off the side here. Just working this in, up and down, back and forth to get started. So I've kind of got that moving up into there. Do the same thing here. Light, 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 light touch. And now, I think I'm going to grab me a clean brush and work on pulling this down here a little bit into, and I kind of work I hear you whispering.
Then you make
I'm
it
not
look
sure what
so
you're saying,
easy.
though, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's really not, I'm not real happy with that wave, but that's kind of, in fact, I'm not happy at all with it. But, so I want a little more, I really want the green in there a little more. Which seemed to have got taken out somewhere in the process.
Which one is that?
That is just Viridian green. I didn't use phthalo, which would be really pretty spectacular, but I didn't want to ruin the unveiling of my other paint, so. Okay, so I will, mess with this a bit until I get it where I want it to be. Usually I think I'm a little more accurate, and at least for some reason it's not really where I want it to be, but once you get it there, you can use a little white, try and,
Do you warm your white up with a little yellow when you put it in there?
sometimes, I'm not on this, I'm just using, this is gonna, it might be a little chalky, but a lot of times I will, just so that, you don't get that chalky look to the top of your wave. In any case, that's got,
That's pretty nice.
it kind of started there. Now, while I've got this kind of going, this nice green, I'm gonna put a little of this, mix a little white with it. Right up through where this is gonna be breaking over. Okay, it's gonna be coming over here, here, and where that, it's just kind of coming down like so. Alright, started that, I'll go ahead, I know I want some of that green in through here. You wanna try and keep it just about the same as, straight across. If I've got this value, this darker value here, I wanna keep it, the same through my holes that I'm punching in across the board here. And it'll get lighter as it gets near the top, of course. I'm just gonna punch in a few things right now to start with some. And then our foam is gonna work its way up there. But I'm gonna concentrate more on this over here right now. I don't normally wear a shirt this brightly colored too, by the way, when I'm out painting. Because, I have to worry about it reflecting back onto the canvas with the sun hitting and you'll get the colors. So I usually wear a real neutral gray or tan or whatever, something that's not gonna really compete with the canvas. But in here, I really wasn't too worried about that. But I just thought that'd be worth kind of pointing out that if you are outdoors, you want to keep that in mind a little bit. Keep your colors kind of muted. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this even here. I'm working at the side of my brush. I love doing seascapes, I gotta say, they're a lot of fun. Here, what you wanna do is lay it on its side and just drag it over. Drag like this in the direction of, I'm having a little bit of a hard time doing this, I'm sorry folks, but I'm trying to stay out of the way so that you can see what's happening. So consequently, I'm standing way over here. It's a little hard on me, but and I do wanna demonstrate how it is that I do this. Drag it over here. Drag it over. Go through a lot of white, let's see. Bring it down here. Now I know I'm gonna need some shadowing. In through here. And I'll probably lighten that up as I go along, but to get it started at least. Nice. Shadowing. Work on. It's gonna be bouncing up here, all this water is gonna be creating this nice little, I don't know what to say, creating this nice little bounce, lack of better terms. light's coming in from my left, so I know I'm gonna wanna keep light on that side. Come down. And you know, that's another good thing, I accidentally put a little green in there, and that's good to do too, is I'll try to throw a little of the green, as well as the shadow color, whatever it might be, in with, because you know, it's water that's aerating up, and you're gonna have, you know, all those kind of colors that you see there are gonna be in that aerated mix of foam and water, so I'll throw a little bit of all those colors in if I can. Get some of that green up here. And, okay, now, there's a little bit of problem there, and then I just totally have lost my foam against this background sky, so I'm gonna go ahead and lighten that up a bit. Still be darker than the foam on the sun side, but light enough that I can see it against that dark background that I have. And this I have warm up with a little bit of that yellow in particular.
Similar to the highlights on clouds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, when I get done, I will use that same, I'll probably come back even and get the leading edges of these, of this wave burst, with that same color that I used for the clouds. And there's something I'm gonna do here, let me have with it. Cut a little bit of this in and out. It's a little too solid there for a wave, I think. Just because. So this is gonna be shadowed over here, obviously. And then you want to think about that, you know, you want to add a little bit of a shadowing on the underside of where these waves come in. Give it a little bit of depth there. But, you know, when that wave comes over, it does create a little bit of a shadow, because it's curling over on itself. And so that sun's coming from there, you will have a little bit of a shadowing going on, not a whole lot. You can get a little carried away on that, but enough to give the illusion, and really that's what we're doing, is illusions anyway, so. If the sun's coming from that direction. I'll also throw a little along here. That's. And I'll show you a brush that I really love to use for seascapes. Second hand to pull it out. It's my, you know, I can't remember what these are called.
It should be.
Ebert or, I can't remember the.
Velvet.
No, it's not a filbert, it's a,
Probably.
I think it's Ebert or something. It starts with an E. It's that. But it's the long, very long bristles on it. Works great for adding a little bit of, like, if I want I'm gonna get a little bit of this yellow, a little bit of the white, and I'm gonna add something coming off, just that little spray that comes off at the top. Give it the sense that there's maybe a little bit of a wind going on. Right?
Yeah.
So, and it's just boom, just simple as that. Just add a little bit of that. Add it around here where maybe you want some highlights. Okay, the next thing I probably want to work on is a little bit of this foam. The foam's going to be mostly in shadow because once again we're behind that, you know, we're behind the wave. This created this space that your foam is riding up on. So it's not going to be white. It's going to have to be a shadow. You can either use this shadow color here, or I'm just going to use a more shadowy color of the water. So kind of a bluish green will come down. Is there any rhyme or reason to foam? Well, yeah. But, you know, there's some things you have to keep in mind. You know, that foam's going to ride up that wave. And as it comes up, they're irregular, obviously, but they're gonna be more, these holes in the water are gonna be more elliptical, of course, as they're down, you're looking at them more on a flat. And then when they start rising up, they're gonna get more circular, because we see more of that circle. And so I try to, you know, as I bring my foam action up, I'll try to get a little bit more circular. And you also can create the flow of your wave just by how you make your So I can, you see by the way I made them now, I'm making everything flowing out this way. And hopefully in this one, it's, you know, it's here and then it's coming back around this way a little bit. So depending on how you want to look at it, you're leading in here, coming around up to your center of interest, okay? Which is a little too close to the center of the painting for me normally, but it is a seascape, so you can kind of get away with it sometimes, I think. But I do like to put it, I'd probably, you know, prefer to put it maybe a little bit more over to the side and have the wave. In fact, I think I did on this one a little bit, well, almost dead center, but anyways. So, but, you know, lead you into there, and then also hopefully these clouds are gonna lead you back around the painting to the land, who leads you back into here. So, you know, I do try to think about how you're gonna lead the eye into a painting when I paint. It doesn't always work, but, okay, so I'm gonna make this kind of come down in here somewhere. We've already got a lot of our paint on, so it's real easy just to go over the top of the white with light, nice light brushwork when you get down to the bottom where there's already existing paint. You just, you know, a lot of it is just control of the brush as to whether it's, because I have, a lot of times people will say, well, now how do you get to lay on paint that you've already put down? Well, it's the touch of the paintbrush. Just touch it like real gentle, and hopefully it'll lay there. And you, of course, you can also use some medium to thin it down a bit and get it to lay on top. But
You use medium? What's your?
not for the most part, I don't know. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes I do, and if I do, it's just store-bought stuff. I mean, I've seen all these recipes, you know, so many parts of this and blah, 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 but it's too confusing for me, so. I'm not a chemist, I just go for whatever they already sell. And it's the same, a lot of people ask me, well, you know, what kind of paint do you prefer? I don't know that I really have any that, I know some artists like, well, it's just Holbein and, you know, only this brand. I mean, I don't have anybody sponsor me, so I don't really have any that I know that Winsor Newton makes a very nice blue-black that I love to use for, blue-black, well, here's a little tidbit for you. Blue-black and yellow ochre makes a great brown for, you know, greens are so hard to make.
What's the blue black called?
It's Winsor Newton, it's called blue-black.
Really?
And, yeah, it's almost like indigo. I mean, it's pretty much the same, except for, I think there's maybe a little bit more blue pigmentation to it. But with that and yellow ochre makes it wonderful. And a little bit of red mixed in, because there's always reds in your greens and landscape, it seems like, so, or orange, or, you know, some kind of warm color, but, yeah, I kind of got turned on to that down in a workshop I was doing with Skip Whitcomb in Tucson a couple of years back, and I had never heard of even blue-black, much less, you know, using it for that. And after I did, I thought, well, I really love this combination. It's not the only one I use, but certainly a good one for sometimes, and so yeah, give it a shot. So I'm gonna keep working this real fast. I need to speed up. I'm doing too much talking on the painting. But you can see how, as I get down to the bottom here, and I'm not gonna get real fancy with foam work because, you know, a little limited time here, and I know people can stick around, but even so, I'm gonna try and get this within the time I set out for myself. So I'm not gonna get real fancy with that foam work, but it is important to note that, you know, as you can see, I start getting a little bit, I can really flow it with the way that you make these shapes. And then, you know, if you want to do just like a nice big area here, let me get this, I think I throw a little blue in here now too, I'll keep all the same. Nice big area of foam, you can always come back then and just punch in some holes as opposed to trying to paint around them like I'm doing now. So I'm going to do that just for demonstration purposes, if nothing else. It's a little quicker. And, you know, as I get near the edge of the painting, I really don't want your eye going over there anyways. I really kinda want it to just become not too much of anything, really. You know, I wanna keep the focus over here, so to do that, I'm gonna make this a little more nondescript over here as far as what's going on. Bring some of this down into here.
How long will it take this paint to dry?
That's a good question, kinda depends on time of the year. Summertime it dries, shoot, I can leave it out in my studio, which is not air conditioned, in Sacramento. 2 days, it's dry, you know, so, and then in the wintertime, I can sit there for, depending on the colors, you know, and there you go again, that's the other part, that some colors dry faster than others, and I guess just the chemical makeup, I don't really know, but, you know, I'm there for a week and a half wondering, is this thing ever gonna dry? But I'm not really, sometimes I'll lay paintings aside and go back to them, but for the most part, it's like, I'm kinda done when I get done with them, and so I put them aside, and if it takes a while to dry, I'm not waiting for it to dry so I can go back and do some more work on it, which is kinda nice. So, let me go back to this.
Do you varnish them later?
You know, no, I do and I don't. I use retouch varnish, mainly because, you know, if all goes right, if all the stars line up and things go right, they're not gonna be around long enough for me to go back in a year and put varnish on, which is what they recommend, to let them dry for a year. And it's like, well, that's great if I have them sitting around, you know, at home forever, but hopefully they're gonna go to a gallery and hopefully they're gonna move, or if they don't, well, you know, I may, but pretty much I just do retouch varnish, and I like the way that they come out. All these are just retouched, with retouch varnish. You know, somebody wants to varnish them after they buy them or something,
Well, what is retouch? Is that a spray or a brush?
It is, yeah, you can, I don't know if you can do either, but I just do a spray. And it's real easy, works real well. And another good use for retouch is if you're, just as the name implies, if you're gonna do something, you've been working on a painting and you let it go for a few days and you know how some of the paints, some colors in particular, really dull out after they sit there. So you're gonna go back now with wet paint and try and match, you know, it's kinda hard to do. So you spray the retouch on there and it'll bring that luster back to where when you paint, you're back to, you know, where you started with wet paint. So that's another really good use for retouch too.
Well, the retouched varnish also comes in liquid because I use it for mixing glazes.
Oh, okay, so there, yeah, I just always spray out on the easy
Yeah,
method.
but if you're doing a glaze, it's real easy to
Oh,
just
okay.
pour some out.
So you use it for glazing, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've always used, like, if I do glazing, liquid or something like that, but, oh, that's good to know. I don't do much glazing though, but, yeah.
I'm curious, how much of this would you actually do outdoors?
Oh, you know what, you're not gonna ever catch a wave just gonna stand there for you. So, good question. So you kinda get the, you know, like, outdoor paintings, let's say, this, what did I do with that one? I had one earlier, that's an outdoor painting, Point Lobos. I have another outdoor that's in my carrier, by the way, just to get off track a little bit, I'll get you back to your question. This is an outdoor, this is the carriers, panel carriers that I use when I go out painting. A lot of people say, well, how do you get them back? I prefer to paint on panels when I'm outdoors because of the portability of them. They're sturdy, you know, I mean, the sun doesn't come through the back when you're painting and give you a weird light and all that kind of stuff. And they're easy to put into these carriers. That was outdoors too. That wave didn't stay there for me, but I basically had the gist of what I want. And I know there's a rock here, and I know that I got these headlands back here, and I know that those waves, you know, sometime or another over the last eon, probably there's been a wave that hit that looked just like that. But I may not have been there to capture it, but I'm gonna put it down like I was anyways. Okay. The other question I get sometimes is, how true do I stay to the scene that I'm painting? Well, in plein air, I stay fairly true. I try to, but not totally. I mean, I'll rearrange. If I don't like this tree here and I want it over here, I'm gonna move it over there. I got that liberty to do that. But if it's something that's really a notable area, it's half dome or it's, you know, I'm obviously not gonna make too many changes to what I see before my eyes because I'm trying to record what is actually there. A good example would be, not that one, would be this one. Okay, I painted, I added their little red houses back there. Okay, I added that because I just felt like it needed something to the vineyards went back there. All of this was right. They didn't quite turn like that. I did that because I didn't want them just to go back in straight forever, so at the end I put a little turn to them. I put houses back there. That's, you know, I wasn't trying to stay true and say, hey, guess what, this is, you know, Joe Blow's vineyard from so much latitude and so much longitude, so if you go right there, you'll see it. This was Orcutt Road Vineyard, and so there's a gazillion vineyards on Orcutt Road. And had there been a house there, that's exactly how it would look, but. So, I take, you know, some liberties, and sometimes none. Certainly on seascapes, a lot of liberties, because I'm not gonna see that wave actually hit like that. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and block in the, just so I can get this part, I'm gonna block in this rock real fast. The rock, what I use, either burnt sienna, or what I prefer is red, transparent, what is it, transparent red oxide, I think is what it's called. And basically it's the same stuff where it's a little darker, there's a little more red to it, it's, you know, I prefer it. I don't always have it, I just have the last little bit in the tube here, so I got enough for today. And then I'm gonna mix some ultramarine blue with it to really darken it up. And I'm also gonna throw some alizarin crimson in there also, I didn't say that word. As we go along, maybe towards the front or whatever, just for a little variety. So I'm gonna put this rock in here, nice and dark to begin with. And then I can always lighten up, right? I mean, that's easy to do. That's where I'll put the highlights on. But first I gotta get this down. And I'm gonna bring it up here a little bit higher than probably that one I did in the study there. Right. But, just because I want to. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, I've sat for demonstrations before and I go, you know, you see something different, you look at it and you go, well, I can put that there, I would have put it over here, I would have done this or that. And, I mean, I catch myself doing it, but it's like, and then they go, wow, okay, that makes sense. However, yeah, there's a bunch of different ways we could all paint this, and this is just the way I'm doing it. So if you're watching and thinking, hey, I would have done different, then, you know, hey, that's great, because for you, that probably would have been the right thing to do, but for me, this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna put this rock here, and I'm gonna warm it up a bit here with some alizarin in the foreground rock, because I'm gonna have a couple of these in here. I'm gonna bring this guy down into here also, and I'm gonna leave a little bit of room there for water to come up. Okay, and I'm gonna put another something over here. In fact, I put a little outline there for it, but I knew I was gonna put some kind of a rock over here. And that's another thing you can use for leading you into your point too, is your rocks. I mean, you can use foam patterns, you can use rocks, you can use the flow of the water, whatever, to get you up to that center of interest. Now that I have this, I'm gonna go ahead and lighten up a little bit with white, and I'm gonna add a little orange, which I don't have any orange out here, but I do have some cerulean red, and we got some yellow, so I'll make my own right here. And now I have kind of like a highlight color going on.
What red was that?
Vermilion? I can't say it, but yeah. No. And I like to, of course, vary that a bit as you go along too. Don't make them all the same.
What were those colors again?
Which ones?
The highlight that you have right now?
Oh, you know, I'm using the rock color, whatever I use for the base rock color. I'm using a little bit of white, I'm using a little bit of orange if I had it, and I don't have it on my palette. So I'm going to mix up my own, which the only colors I have is I got vermilion, red, and, you know, some yellow here. So I'll kind of make up my own little orange, and I'll mix that to the existing. And really, you know, whatever you want for it. This is obviously a little bit warmer highlights than I have on this. It's kind of whatever you feel like. And then I want to mix in, obviously, a little bit of this grayed down sky color on rocks that are looking up at they're looking, you know, the top is flat, and you're gonna get that bounce light from the, or not bounce light, but the light from the sky that's gonna obviously come off the tops of those rocks, so you wanna mix some of that in there too with these guys. Don't just use all nice warm highlights on them. Pull some of this down, make an interesting design there. Now, so much of this is just out of your head, especially when you're not out there, obviously. And that at least gives me for right now, well, I feel that I've got this big chunk of rock there. We don't want anything too smooth on this rock. You know, you notice I've got the hard line. I didn't really lose any of my edges or anything because that's a hard rock. Now what I may do is to go ahead and I like doing this, is to add a little bit of the spray coming over here and there. Just because, but not too much of it. You can overdo anything. So just a little here and there. Get that. How am I doing my time? Getting close.
Is there a hurry?
And counting.
Do we have appointments?
We're enjoying this.
Your stress level is not a problem at all, it's mine. Let's see here. So I'll go ahead and let's get this, a little more of this wave done. We'll move back to it. And this is what I was talking about over here. I've got this whole big area, so I can just punch in wherever I want, a nice hole. It's sometimes easier, especially if you're not really that concerned with it looking, you know, you don't want to call attention to it anyway, so you just put your phone down first and then come back and do the water instead of the other way around. Just a little more of this green up at the top. You know what I did? I hit phthalo green when I was going for my green, so I put some out because I wasn't sure what color I was going to use for the wave until I got here. That one I'm going to use Viridian. But you know, up in this area, on this whole wave, it's going to be just about that value there. So I'm going to keep that going. Quiet. Either everybody's still, the lunch is kicked in and you're falling asleep.
No watching.
Or you're watching, yeah.
Concentrated.
When did you first start painting?
You know, I started painting back when my father is an artist, was a cartoonist actually, but he can do just about anything, but that's really what he was good at. And so ever since I was a young child, I mean, I can't remember Christmas or birthday or anything, didn't go by that he didn't always get us some kind of art stuff. Me and my younger brother were very artistic. And my sister is also, she's an artist also, so it kind of goes in the family. So I guess really back as early as I can remember, I remember doing stuff as a little kid, you know, getting a happy face on the picture and stuff like that. Oh, you did a great job. But as far as getting into it seriously, like I said, not until about 2001 when my finances and kids, which actually go hand in hand, got to the point that I could do that. Yeah, so, and you know, you all know, it's amazing how much you can invest in art. So it's not just an investment of time; it's an investment of money and everything else. So 2001 is about when I got back into it seriously, and then, as my wife will attest, that's about all I do with my free time. So.
And money.
And money, yes. We have free money?
Not free money. Free time and money.
So I'm going to throw some nice shadowy color over here. Bring some of that purple in the sky up above. And I'm really getting sloppy with this only because a couple reasons. I'm occurring. And it doesn't matter because I will refine all this as I go along. But just get it down here kind of now. I want to get some of this, I love, you know, the purple that's in some of this painting, so I want to bring some of it down into here to keep that unity throughout the painting. And I think that's important too, is to work your colors and keep them, you know, unified throughout. I'm gonna throw a little more of this down here.
So are you self-taught? Have you
Yeah,
done
pretty
it?
much, yeah. I'm pretty much self-taught. I've gone to a lot of workshops, or I shouldn't say a lot, gone to a few. I haven't gone to a lot at all because I can never afford that, but.
Are we hiding it from your wife? You're sending back
Yeah,
out
she
workshop.
exactly. Pay no attention to the.
To the man on the screen.
But, you know, I studied with a well-respected artist in Tahoe for about a year. I go up about 2 times a month. And Silvio Silvestri is the name of the artist up there. Very
What was his name?
Silvio Silvestri, and that's Silvestri, yeah. He's a very pretty well-known plein air artist in the area. Does some beautiful work, and really, you know, we had done a show in Squaw Valley, the same show together. It was Art, Wine, and Music or something festival back in about 2001, 2002, I don't remember. And I just got back into art, and so I had some of my paintings, which were all very real, very detailed, very realistic paintings. You know, I was happy with them. I go to the show, and down, you know, 3 booths from me is this guy that's got these beautiful, just gorgeous, in my opinion, colors on his paintings. And I fell in love with them. Felt inferior, you know, it's like, oh, look at my stuff. And got his name and information and stuff, and then I started training with him, like I said, for about a year, and that was Silvio. And so a lot of my style has started with that, and of course, you know, we all develop our own styles from whatever we're working with. But I give Silvio a lot of credit for helping me out.
Did he have a gallery in Tahoe?
He showed in Tahoe, yeah. I don't think he had a gallery.
One of the casino galleries?
He showed down the street from one of the, yeah, down near the ski lift that goes up.
Heavenly.
Heavenly, yeah. He showed down there for a while. You could, you know, he has a website, silviosilvestri.com, and if you want, you know, it's certainly a beautiful site to look at. And as a matter of fact, I got a website too. It is not too bad. It's Tillery or Art by Tillery, if anybody wants to check that out too.
Do you actually sell over eBay or any of those?
No.
Just off your own website?
I don't even sell off my website. I mean, I mind if somebody was long distance, but pretty much if there's a gallery in the area that I'm in that sells my work, you know, I refer them to that. I just, ethically, I think it's the right thing to do. If that gallery is willing to invest their wall space, their valuable real estate in me, then, you know, I just won't, I don't do it. I know some artists do, and it's like, I just don't think it's right. So, if they don't live around a gallery, sure, and they want something, I'll send it to them, but I haven't really had much success at all from the website for selling art, more for just getting, you know, it's great for, like somebody was asking earlier, how do you get into a gallery? And, you know, the one in Carmel, when I was talking to him, you know, he said, do you have any business cards? Well, no, you know, I'm still prepared as usual. I had no business cards. So, but I did, you know, we got talking about the website, and he says, oh, we go over the computer here, so he just brings it up on the computer, and that, so, you know, that in itself, that was, you know, probably made it money well spent, just in the fact that you can do that. Not to mention the IRS, if they want to know that, you know, what you're doing is really legit, it's like, well, go visit the website, I mean, you know, everything's on there. So I love it for that. As far as for making sales, nah. eBay, I've talked to a few artists. When I competed in Chico, I competed with my gone blank for a second, but a well-known plein air artist who's part of TAPA, which is Plein Air Artists of America, a nice little elite group of painters. and she had some of her stuff on eBay, and she basically took it off, she said, because she was so tired of people buying it and then turning around and selling it, right after they bought it, and, you know, just as an investment. And to my way of thinking, I mean, I thought, well, you know, hey, they bought it, if that's what they want to do with it.
Interesting,
they
who
don't care
cares,
when they
yeah.
sold it.
Yeah.
But, she had some other bad experience with eBay too and stuff, and so I've just never really, wanted to go that
Any
direction.
trouble with people copying your work?
I don't know, not that I'm aware of, you know? If I see a card in a store with one of my
Trouble
paintings, I'm
after
gonna know who owns it.
A little print.
I don't know.
Photoshop
I
your name
do,
out.
I do worry about it though, because, you know, there's so much of that going on, and, you know, when you get a website out there, you're basically putting it out there for everybody to steal what they want.
Do you watermark your stuff on your website?
No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. It's probably a good thing to do, but if you know anything about computers at all, and using Photoshop programs or
I
anything,
think it's probably go around.
I've done it. I've had a demonstrator, I was president of California Arts League in Sacramento for a couple of years, vice president for 1 year, president for the next. And one of my jobs as the vice president was to take care of all the demonstrators. And so I had Rafe Erickson, good painter in the Auburn area, come and do a demonstration. So I went to the website to get a couple of images of his to put into the flyer that I was doing and stuff. And he had at the bottom, Rafe, you know, across, and I thought, well, let's just see what I can do with this. So I blew it up, and I'll tell you what, you could not tell that signature was ever there. I showed it to him, and he was just totally amazed. He was like, I mean, it's only as good as keeping, it's like putting a lock on a door, I guess maybe keep an honest person honest, but if somebody really wants your artwork, they're still gonna get it with that, so. I don't really know how you really, you know, defend against somebody who, and you wanna get your art out there, I mean, you don't wanna be a recluse, or why, so, I haven't worried too much about it, and like I said, if I see something show up,
Be flattered.
yeah, flattered, I'm upset too. Where's my portion of the proceeds on this? Okay, this is pretty much, it's not a finished painting, but it's getting in there, and what I'd like to do now is to, let me just get this, something down here. And I'm gonna turn over these other ones so you can see what, I know you're willing to give me the time, I appreciate that, but
Have you sold, while you're painting on location to, onlookers, people
Yeah.
right on location?
yeah,
You don't feel that infringes on your gallery rights?
depends where I'm at. If I'm painting right out here,
Mhm.
I wouldn't sell it. If I'm painting, because it's too close to the gallery I'm at.
Mhm.
But if I'm painting down in San Luis Obispo, I'm in the galleries down there, so, yeah, I don't feel it. You know, just kind
That
of.
never occurred to me that you shouldn't paint,
Well.
because there's a Crescent City is our gallery.
So,
Well, Doris, look. Uh-oh.
Well, third cousin's up here, man.
Well, see, I know you paint outdoors.
Yeah, I do.
Right, because I've run into you, actually, last time I was up here, you were painting out at Lone Ranch. And, so you know, yeah, people approach you when you're out, and, you know, unless I'm in a gallery close by, they're gonna get a good deal. It's as simple as that, because I can either do that, or I can take it home and, you know, take it to the gallery and hope that it's gonna sell there, and et cetera, but. if you
Frame
got-
it and all that.
Yeah, frame it and the whole 9 yards, and you got a buyer, yeah, I'm willing to.
Bird in the hand.
Yeah, but like I said, I wouldn't do it around here right now, just because I'm in, words and pictures, and that wouldn't be.
That's too close, you
Is
think?
that's another world.
Well, let's put it this way, some of the galleries I'm in, at least one in particular, I have a 35-mile contract with them, and I can't be in another gallery for 35 miles.
Whoa.
So,
Wow.
that's kind of what you run into in a lot of galleries, is they want the exclusivity of having you.
If it was 35
And,
from there, yeah, it's 20 or
um,
something.
You should join us, we're very.
It is fair.
My goodness.
No original sold here.
There's one, the lighthouses on.
Once in a while.
Okay, I'm gonna call it quits with that, it's not really, oh, hold it.
Wonderful.
There, there you go. Thank you very much. Now, another probably 30 minutes with this, because I was busy talking stuff. I would fix the waves in the background, I would bring some of this color from the sky down onto the troughs and the waves on here, not just this color. I'll work more on the foam patterns, obviously, the tops of the waves, getting the color in and bringing them off. A little more on my rocks, maybe putting in some crag marks, you know, where the lines and stuff. But, so that's some of the stuff I would do, and I may work a little bit on putting some light, dashing it up, some really light foam where, boom, the sun's hitting it here or there, to kind of work yourself up into that area too. But that's basically it. So, thank you for your applause. I want to show you the two that I did at home, like I said, which I determined I couldn't do either one in the amount of time. This was with,
Can you hold those?
sure.
Yeah.
This is with using pale blue as sketch.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'll try 9 by 12, but you know, I don't want to do the same color theme or anything else. So I did a green. So that's kind of, you know, that's what this guy would look like if we took a little bit of time and actually, you know.
Hold those still for poor video man. Stand
There's
up on
one,
the
there's
table.
one.
And there
Okay.
you go.
There's the other one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very good.
so, you're certainly welcome to come up and look at these if you'd like, and if you'd like to view my work, some of it I invite you out, because you can make it up to words and pictures and see some stuff there. And once again, thank you.